Jack Parsons, born Marvel Whiteside Parsons on October 2, 1914, was an American rocket engineer, chemist, and an occultist. His life is a fascinating and tragic blend of groundbreaking contributions to science and deep involvement in esoteric and occult practices. Here's a detailed account of his life, including his association with Elron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. Early life and interest in rockets. Parsons grew up in Pasadena, California. His family was relatively affluent, but his father abandoned the family when Jack was young, which had a lasting emotional impact on him. He was raised primarily by his mother and grandmother, who were both domineering figures in his life. As a teenager, Parsons became fascinated with science fiction and space travel, reading works by authors like Jules Verne and H.G. Wells. This fascination with the idea of space exploration led him to develop an early interest in rocketry. At the time, the scientific community considered rocketry more or less a fantasy, and serious work in the field was virtually non-existent. However, Parsons, with his friend Edward Foreman, began experimenting with homemade explosives and rocket engines in his backyard. Despite his enthusiasm for chemistry and engineering, Parsons struggled in formal education. He attended Stanford University but dropped out after only a short time. His lack of a formal degree would later prove to be a barrier in his professional career, although his practical skills would more than make up for it. Founding of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. In the 1930s, Parsons and a small group of like-minded scientists and engineers, including Frank Molina and Theodore von Karman, co-founded the Suicide Squad at Caltech. This group conducted dangerous and groundbreaking experiments with rocket propulsion, often risking their lives in the process. Despite numerous explosions and failures, they eventually achieved significant breakthroughs. Their work laid the foundation for modern rocketry. They were particularly instrumental in developing jet-assisted takeoff (JATO) rockets, which allowed heavier aircraft to take off from shorter runways. This caught the attention of the U.S. military, and the group received funding from the Army Air Corps. The Suicide Squad would eventually become the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, which today is one of NASA's leading research centers. Parsons' role in JPL and his contributions to rocketry were immense, although his lack of a formal education meant he often worked more as a consultant and hands-on engineer than as a recognized academic leader. Occult Involvement and Thelema. Parsons' fascination with science was paralleled by his deep interest in the occult, particularly the teachings of Aleister Crowley, the English occultist and founder of Thelema. In 1941, Parsons joined the Ordo Templi Orientis, OTO, an occult society based on Thelemic principles. He quickly rose through the ranks and became the leader of the Agape Lodge, the OTO's chapter in Pasadena. Crowley's philosophy of Thelema, which emphasized, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," deeply resonated with Parsons. He saw Thelema as a way to break free from societal conventions and explore new realms of personal and scientific potential. Parsons' home in Pasadena became the center of various occult rituals, and he poured much of his time and money into these activities, often to the detriment of his personal and professional life. Relationship with Elron Hubbard. In 1945, Parsons met Elron Hubbard, then a science fiction writer and Navy officer. The two quickly developed a friendship, and Hubbard moved into Parsons' mansion in Pasadena, where many of the occult ceremonies took place. Parsons saw Hubbard as a charismatic and talented individual, and the two began collaborating on magical workings. The most famous of these rituals was the Bablon Working, which Parsons conducted with the intention of invoking an incarnation of the Thelemic goddess Babylon, a symbol of female sexual freedom and empowerment. Parsons believed that this ritual would bring about a new age for humanity. Hubbard served as Parsons' assistant during the ritual, acting as a scribe and seer. According to Parsons, the ritual was successful, and he later claimed to have met a woman named Marjorie Cameron, whom he believed was the manifestation of Babylon. However, Hubbard had other intentions. While Parsons was preoccupied with occult matters, Hubbard, along with Parsons' girlfriend, Sarah Northrup, devised a scheme to defraud Parsons. They convinced him to invest a large sum of money in a business venture involving yachts, but Hubbard and Northrup ran off with the money, leaving Parsons nearly bankrupt. Parsons attempted to sue Hubbard, but Hubbard's charm and legal maneuvering made it difficult for Parsons to reclaim his money. This betrayal caused a deep personal crisis for Parsons, both financially and emotionally. Hubbard would go on to found Scientology in 1953, drawing upon various philosophical, psychological, and occult influences. Some speculate that his time with Parsons and his exposure to Thelema influenced the development of early Scientology ideas, though Hubbard would later deny any connection to the occult. Personal decline and death. After the incident with Hubbard, Parsons' life entered a downward spiral. He struggled financially and professionally. His involvement in the occult, as well as rumors of his left-leaning political views, made it difficult for him to secure government contracts during the Cold War. He was even investigated by the FBI for possible espionage, although no charges were ever filed. In 1952, while working as a chemical consultant and explosives expert, Parsons was involved in a fatal accident. On June 17, he was handling chemicals in his home laboratory when an explosion occurred. Some accounts suggest that Parsons dropped a container of fulminate of mercury or nitroglycerin, both highly volatile substances. The explosion critically injured Parsons, and he died several hours later at the hospital at the age of 37. Jack Parsons' legacy is a complex and controversial one. As a rocket scientist, he was instrumental in the early development of American rocketry and played a key role in the creation of JPL, a cornerstone of modern space exploration. His work on rocket propulsion helped pave the way for humanity's eventual journey to the moon. However, his involvement in the occult and his association with figures like Aleister Crowley and Elron Hubbard have often overshadowed his scientific contributions. Many view him as a tragic figure, a brilliant mind who was undone by his personal demons and his involvement in esoteric pursuits. Nonetheless, his contributions to science and his influence on both space exploration and countercultural movements remain significant. His life serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing scientific genius with personal obsession and the occult.
Audiences know what to expect, and that is all they are prepared to believe in.
You got a good picture, huh? There's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail. Okay, would you verify the position, the opening I ought to have on the camera? Stand by. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming. Okay, I just checked getting back up to that first step. That isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. Roger, we copy. It's a pretty good little jump. Buzz, this is Houston, F2, 1/160th second for shadow photography on the sequence camera. Okay. At the foot of the ladder, the LEM footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches, although the surface appears to be very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine. Yeah, I'm going to step off the LEM now. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.